Networking cable. Networking cable is a median or a mediator to transfer the information between two networking devices. And they are of several types. They are unshielded twisted pair, shielded twisted pair, coaxial cable, and fiber optics cable. These are the four common cables that you can see that which are used for the concept of networking. And all the four cables have four different characteristics, and let's see that right now. Twisted pair cables have two types. One is shielded and unshielded one. In the unshielded twisted pair, it's a quite common thing that you can see in your schooling network, and it's a kind of a telephonic grade which has an extremely high speed cables. And you can see in this diagram that there are four pairs, and all are being twisted each other. And this also eliminate the interference and the adjacent pairs for all the electrical devices, and it supports a good transmission rate too. And here is a diagram where you can see that one is a shielded one, another one is an unshielded one. This is a quite common one that you see, the unshielded, but the shielded is the one where it contains a foil on the top of it. It contains a form of foil that covers all the four pairs of the twisted pair. Unshielded twisted pair. As you know that the unshielded twisted pair is a quite common one, and it's used for connecting the RJ45 connector. The RJ45 is the registered jack, where you can see at the back of your computer it's connected to the NIC card. That's a network interface card for all the computers or some other some networking devices. So this is the a form of connector that connects the cable between the two devices. Advantages of unshielded twisted pair. It's inexpensive, familiar, as well as simple to install. The disadvantage is that it forms an interference both internally and externally. And it translates into slow transmission, and it also becomes an absolute quick because of the new technologies that's overcoming. Shielded twisted pair cables. In the unshielded twisted pair, we know it's the least expensive, and sometimes it is also susceptible to radio and electrical frequency interfaces. The unshielded twisted pair. So that's the reason the unshielded twisted pair is said to be not to be so closer to the electrical motors or the fluorescent lights, so that it must be placed in an environment with lot of potential interferences. But it's also extremely sensitive environment that it's susceptible to electrical current in a unshielded twisted pair. But these all are overcome using the shielded twisted pair, because it has a foil at the round of the cable which protects extremely from all the electrical motor signals as well as your fluorescent lights. And shielded twisted pair can also help to extend the maximum distance of the cable. And the shielded twisted pair is available in three different configurations. One is that there is an individual foil in each pair. So there are four pairs. There can be a foil circulated on each pair. And the second one is all together the four pairs are together, and there is one common foil that is circulated on the top of the four twisted pairs. Nor it can be a form of double shielded twisted pair. So these are the three different configurations. Advantages of shielded twisted pair. It's easy to install and it has a reasonable cost. Its resistance is also interference. And also there is a better security, easy to transmit with modular connector. And the disadvantage is that it's absolute due to some technical advance can and also it can be easily trapped. Coaxial cable. The coaxial cable is the one single cable where it has a copper conductor at the center and it is surrounded with a plastic layer for the purpose of insulation between the center conductor and the metal sheet. There is a form of metal shield here to block from outside interference like fluorescent lights, motors and other computers. Although it's sometimes difficult to install, but it supports a greater length. It supports a very length in the net to connect the networking devices rather than connecting with a twisted pair cables. They are of two types. One is a thick coaxial and thin coaxial. Advantages. It's familiar and very easy to install as it's a one single cable and it has great bandwidth a great bandwidth than the shielded or the unshielded, and it's highly resistant because you can see that the copper cable here are highly resisted with the shield as well as the insulator, so it's highly interference, and it's good in security and easy to connect. The disadvantage is that it once again becomes an absolute to the technology advance and can be easily trapped in terms of security. Fiber optics cable. The fiber optics cable is contain the central glass core surrounded with several protective materials, and it doesn't have a electrical signal to transfer the data, but it has a light signal. So since it is a form of glass core, it's a form of light signal, and it is connected between the two buildings as well, not in terms of computers. It's used to connect two different buildings due to the immunity of affecting from moisture and light. It transmits the signal to very long distance comparing with the coaxial cable as well as the twisted pair. It does has a very long distance, and and the informations get carried to the vast greatest speed, and the capacity of the communication includes to various services such as video conferencing, interactive services, and the core is made up of glass and fiber. And if there is a signal break in between the glass particles, you can see that it reflects internally, and since it is made up of glass, the glass signals reflects internally and it makes sure it sends the data to the receiver. And the outer coating is made up of Teflon or a PVC. The quite common two types of fiber optics cable is single mode and multi-mode. The multi-mode cable which has a large diameter, but the cables provide high bandwidth at high speed. Single mode provides more distance, but it's very expensive. Advantages of fiber optics. It has a top performance and an excellent bandwidth where it supports a gigabit range, and It's very long lifespan with highly secure, and the very it has a high rate of data transmission, and there is no interference due to some electromagnetic or any electrical device. It's small and lighter than other cables. Disadvantages: it's slightly higher in cost compared to the twisted pair cables. So now we have overall seen what are the types of cables and what and their characteristics.